Imagine standing at the peak of your career, the world watching, waiting for you to claim your place among the greats. For Angel Reese, that moment was hers for the taking. All eyes were on her, hyping her as the future of women's basketball. But then something unimaginable happened, a fall so swift, so devastating, that it's left everyone asking, how did it come to this? Angel Reese, once poised to be the star of the WNBA, now faces a lifetime suspension. Not a slap on the wrist, not a 20-game timeout, but a complete, irreversible ban from the sport she's dedicated her life to. How does a player with such promise throw it all away? What could drive someone to make choices that lead to the ultimate self-destruction? Was she simply caught in a bad situation, or is there something deeper at play? This isn't just another sports scandal, it's a story of ambition, rivalry, and the weight of expectations. Angel's downfall wasn't just about bad decisions, it's about how far someone is willing to go to stay relevant when the spotlight starts to dim. When the news broke of Angel's suspension, instead of taking responsibility, she turned the blame to someone else, her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon. According to Reese, it was Weatherspoon who pushed her towards steroids, insisting it was the only way to keep up with the fierce competition. But let's stop and think about this for a second. Angel Reese is 22 years old. She's not some rookie fresh out of high school. She's a grown adult who has spent years navigating the pressures of high-level basketball. Are we really supposed to believe that Angel, with all her experience and knowledge of the game, had no idea what she was doing? That she didn't understand the rules? That she was just blindly following her coach's instructions like a kid who doesn't know any better? It's a tough sell. Reese's attempt to pass the blame feels more like desperation than truth. Yes, coaches have a lot of influence over their players, but at the end of the day, the choice to cheat was Angel's. So, why is she so adamant about shifting the blame? Could it be that the pressure became too much for her to handle, and this is just her way of avoiding the fallout? Or is there more to the story than we're being told? It wasn't supposed to be like this. Angel Reese entered the WNBA with the kind of hype that few players ever experience. She was destined to be a star. The next big thing, the one who would change the game and lead her team, the Chicago Sky, to greatness. But instead of dominating the court, Angel found herself stuck in the shadow of someone else, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was, and still is, a force to be reckoned with. From the moment she entered the league, she made her presence known, breaking records, stealing headlines, and staying completely focused on the game. Meanwhile, Angel was struggling. In her first 10 games, she could barely hit double digits. The comparisons between her and Clark were harsh, but they were also accurate. Clark was everything Angel was supposed to be, but wasn't. And instead of rising to the occasion, Angel started to crumble. The pressure, the expectations, the constant comparisons, they all got to her. She started lashing out, using trash talk, injuries, even race accusations to try and stay relevant, but none of it worked. Caitlin's talent continued to speak for itself. And Angel? She was becoming more known for her antics off the court than her performance on it. When all else failed, Angel turned to something darker: steroids. Steroids in professional sports is nothing new. It's an ugly truth that we've seen play out time and time again. Players looking for an edge, something that can help them push beyond their limits, and for Angel, it must have felt like her only option. How else could she possibly compete with someone like Caitlin Clark, who was out there breaking records and leaving her in the dust? But here's the thing, steroids in the WNBA aren't just frowned upon, they're career-ending. And in Angel's case, they were exactly that. Her decision to use performance-enhancing drugs wasn't just a mistake, it was a choice that cost her everything. Instead of a brief suspension, Angel Reese is now facing a lifetime ban, a punishment so severe, it's hard to wrap your head around. What made her think this was the solution? Was it desperation? Was the pressure to succeed just too much for her to handle? And even with the steroids, it didn't seem to make much of a difference. Caitlin Clark was still outplaying her, outscoring her, and dominating the court. So if the steroids didn't even help her perform, why take the risk? But Angel Reese wasn't alone in her downfall. Her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, has found herself tangled up in this scandal as well. According to Reese, Weatherspoon was the one who encouraged her to start using steroids steroids in the first place, a shocking claim, considering Weatherspoon's long-standing reputation as a respected figure in women's basketball. If this is true, what does it say about Weatherspoon's role as a coach? A coach is supposed to guide, protect, and nurture their players, not push them into making decisions that could ruin their careers. And yet, here we are. Weatherspoon is now facing her own suspension, and her reputation is in tatters. The question is, why would a coach of Weatherspoon's caliber risk everything for one player? Was it blind loyalty? Was it pressure from the higher-ups? Or was it something else entirely? Whatever the reason, it's clear that both Weatherspoon and Reese are now paying the ultimate price for their choices. This scandal didn't just affect Angel Reese and Teresa Weatherspoon, it brought the entire Chicago Sky team down with them. The Sky were supposed to be contenders this season, but after Angel's suspension, everything fell apart. Their playoff hopes? Gone. The team's chemistry? Completely shattered. And it wasn't just the steroids that caused the damage. Angel's attitude, her inability to perform under pressure, and her constant need for attention all played a role in the team's collapse. The Chicago Sky even went so far as to file a lawsuit against Reese, accusing her of sabotaging the team's chances and dragging them into chaos. But it wasn't just Angel's actions that hurt the team. Teresa Weatherspoon's coaching decisions made things worse. Instead of focusing on the team as a whole, Weatherspoon seemed obsessed with Angel. Players like Camila Cardoso, who had real potential, were left on the bench while Weatherspoon focused all her attention on a player who wasn't delivering. The result? A fractured locker room, broken trust, and a team that had no chance of succeeding. As soon as the news of Angel Reese's lifetime suspension broke, the internet exploded. Social media was flooded with reactions, some sympathetic, others ruthless. There were those who defended her, saying she was pressured into making bad choices. But most people weren't buying it. They saw Angel for what she had become, a player who had thrown it all away in a desperate attempt to stay relevant. And while Angel's career is now in ruins, Caitlin Clark's star continues to rise. Clark is still out there, dominating the court and setting records. The rivalry that Angel tried so hard to stoke has backfired. Instead of taking down Clark, Angel ended up destroying herself. It's a bitter pill to swallow. The very person Angel spent so much time trying to compete with is now thriving while she's left picking up the pieces of her shattered career. But Angel Reese isn't the only one who's facing consequences. The entire WNBA is feeling the effects of this scandal. For years, the league has been fighting to be taken seriously, to grow its fan base, and to gain the same respect as the NBA. And now, with this steroid scandal, the league's credibility is on the line. A lifetime suspension for steroid use? That's unprecedented, and it's left many wondering how the WNBA will recover from this. The league had been making strides, gaining more visibility and respect, but now all of that progress is in jeopardy. And then there's Teresa Weatherspoon. Once a respected coach, she's now seen as the enabler of one of the biggest scandals in women's basketball. Weatherspoon had the tools to turn the Chicago Sky into a winning team, but instead, she chose to gamble everything on Angel Reese, and now she's facing the consequences. Weatherspoon's suspension is 100% justified. She failed as a coach, not just by allowing the steroid use, but by turning a blind eye to the warning signs that things were spiraling out of control. Instead of guiding her team to success, she let one player's ego and poor decisions destroy everything. Angel Reese's lifetime suspension is more than just a punishment, it's a cautionary tale, a story of how far someone is willing to go when they feel overshadowed by someone else's greatness. Angel had everything going for her. She was supposed to be a star, but instead, she let jealousy and desperation drive her to make choices that cost her everything. If you found this story as shocking as we did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts. Was Angel Reese a victim of bad influence, or was this downfall inevitable? Drop your comments below and stay tuned for more stories like this one.